We understand that customers don't want to see a list of AWS services. They want an out-of-the-box solution, but yet they don't want to be blocked by an out-of-the-box solution because out-of-the-box solutions are not customizable. And that's why Caylent came out with Caylent Catalysts. Think of Caylent Catalysts as 75% out-of-the-box solution and 25% customizable.
Right, there's definitely an opportunity for best practices. So the 75% is something that's not going to be differentiated from customer to customer. We can be pretty definitive and prescriptive about that 75%. But to some degree, every customer is unique, every business environment's unique. Even in the same industry, different customers are going to approach the solutions differently. So we left that 25% expectation to respond to customer needs, to be flexible, but to still accelerate by standardizing the 75%, if you will.
And if you think about it, as a consulting partner, as a services provider, and all the customer engagements that we're a part of, we've seen a lot of patterns across various industries and various use cases. And we've used all of that experience and put them into Catalysts.
Right, a good example is our cloud modernization and migration practice, or cloud DevOps, where we're frequently setting down customer environments. If a customer is new to AWS, we have something that's called the Control Tower Catalyst, for example, and that lays down the account structures, the landing zone, if you will, the networking, the security and governance rules that a customer needs to be successful from the start. This is a good example of something that's not terribly different from client to client, but there's some best practices that we want to be sure that everybody's adopting.
And ultimately, what we're trying to achieve with Catalyst, the outcome for our customers, is to accelerate deployments that might typically take a couple of months to a few weeks.
For sure, and even to the point of condensing it, maybe beyond what's necessarily production ready. So with our Kubernetes Catalyst, it's a good example of where we can expose customers to running containers on AWS without necessarily sort of taking the entire journey, making sure that the customer is enabled, accelerated in the journey of AWS adoption. Security Catalysts are another area where we sort of take a fast forward approach to security. We have a week-long engagement that's workshop-based, it's questionnaire-based, it's very interactive with clients. It's not going to solve the entire ecosystem of AWS security, but it's going to give a leg up. It's going to ask the right questions. It's going to set some strategic goals in place so that customer knows where they need to fill in gaps, either in their own capabilities or fill out with a third-party provider. They're going to start to think about tool sets and be strategic about how they're adopting AWS with a security-first mindset.
And our Catalyst portfolio is constantly growing. As of right now, we do have Catalysts for AWS Control Tower, Kubernetes, security and compliance assessment, as well as cloud native application foundations. But as I mentioned before, it's constantly growing. So get a good look at how many Catalysts that we are releasing, or get a look at our portfolio of Catalysts, look at caylent.com/catalysts. Can you tell me a little bit about our AWS Control Tower Catalyst? How did that come about?
Yeah, so the inception of the idea, like it's there in the name in a way, because if you know chemistry, like a catalyst is something that speeds up a reaction. So Control Tower Catalyst, the idea that we had there is to speed up AWS adoption, to lay some best practices down in place, and to really get customers started out on the right foot with their AWS footprint. The other piece of it too that we took into account is we wanted to build something that was turnkey, something where all the pieces are on the table, the customer gets to keep all of the moving parts. It's not something where Caylent is an ongoing dependency, but it's something where we can get them started and they can run on their own. Or if they want, they can come back to Caylent to continue to accelerate their AWS adoption or their product goals.
And can you tell me a little bit about a typical customer engagement? So when they come to our website, they think, yes, I need an AWS Control Tower Catalyst. How does that typically go with them?
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes the Control Tower Catalyst conversation starts a broader conversation, and sometimes it stops at the Catalyst. So the Catalyst itself is a 2-week engagement that's really quick, that's engineering outputs in a rapid time frame. But in other times it sort of expands, and there's more needs beyond just the AWS account setup, and we take that into account, and we'll build larger scope, we'll build on top of that Catalyst, and we'll take the other needs of the organization into account. But really from the website, it starts a conversation with my team, the solutions architecture team, to understand client needs a bit better before we sort of prescriptively throw our sort of turnkey offering at it. We want to make sure we understand and we're building the right solution for our clients.
So we've talked about the Control Tower Catalyst, but yet we also work with a lot of customers that have compliance needs. We have a lot of health tech and fintech customers, and they're looking at building AWS foundations, but they also need to build in compliance offers into it. Like, how do we help those customers out?
Yeah, for sure. And even within our Control Tower Catalyst, we have security built in as a first-class citizen, but some customers go beyond that. And so we take our security and compliance catalyst and we use that to make sure that we're taking into account the right frameworks for compliance the customer might have, making sure that they're thinking about not just the operational AWS issues, but also the personnel and the procedures that they need to be thinking about to securely adopt AWS.